So when the G20 gets together, you're always expecting some big ideas, right? But what India brought to the table this time, well, it was something else. It's a whole vision for security, health, and development. We're going to break down the 4 huge proposals they unveiled.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're in Johannesburg, South Africa for the 20th G20 Summit. This is the exact spot where India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, stood up and laid out this massive plan for all the world's top economies.
So what was this grand vision exactly? Look, this wasn't just about one single policy tweak. Nope, it was a whole set of ideas that all linked together, designed to take on some of the world's toughest problems. So let's dive in, one proposal at a time.
Okay, first on the list, something that gets right to the core of global security. India is calling for everyone to team up against what they call the drug terror nexus.
And this is the key thing to understand. They're not talking about drug trafficking over here and terrorism over there as 2 separate problems. The whole point is the overlap. The way they share the same financial networks. It's like a shadowy economy where the money from one fuels the other, creating chaos all over the world.
So, the big question is, how do you even begin to fight something like that? Well, the proposal is basically a multi-front attack. Yeah, it's about going after dangerous drugs like fentanyl for sure, but it's way bigger than that. The real idea is to pull together all the financial tools, all the government power, and all the security muscle of the G20 countries. You weave it all together into one unified force that can actually tear these networks apart from the inside.
And believe me, they were not subtle about it. This quote says it all, doesn't it? It just perfectly captures how urgent this is. It's a straight-up call to action. Cut off the cash flow, and the whole rotten system gets weaker.
Okay, so from global security, the vision pivots to global health. The second proposal really gets into a question I think we've all been asking lately. How do we get ready for the next big crisis? And their answer is pretty interesting. It's got 2 parts.
First up, they're talking about creating a G20 global healthcare response team. And the idea behind it is so simple but really powerful. That we're just stronger together. Instead of everyone running around in a panic when a disaster hits, the goal is to have a whole system already in place, just ready to go.
And the how is actually pretty straightforward. Get this. You build these highly trained teams from all the member nations before anything bad happens. You keep them on standby, and the second an emergency pops up, boom, you deploy them. It's a huge shift, right? From just reacting to stuff to actually being proactive.
Now for the second part of the health plan. And this one, it doesn't look forward. It actually looks way, way back. India wants to create a G20 global traditional knowledge repository.
I mean, how fascinating is that? In our world of high-tech everything and constant innovation, this is basically a call to hit pause and make sure that all this ancient wisdom about health, stuff from countless cultures over centuries, doesn't just disappear. The idea is to gather it all up, actually study it, and turn it into a kind of living library for all of us and for the people who come after us.
All right, so we've covered security and health. Now let's pivot to the third big proposal. This one is all about development and partnership, and it's focused squarely on Africa.
And you really need to know the backstory here because it's super important. This whole idea didn't just come out of nowhere. It happened right after the African Union became a permanent member of the G20. So this frames the whole thing not as charity or aid, but as a genuine partnership between equals. It's about building on this brand new level of inclusion.
So they're calling it the Skills Multiplier Initiative. The name kind of says it all, right? It's about tackling the skills gap head-on to boost development. But what makes this one a real head-turner is the goal they set. It's not just ambitious, it's super specific.
1 million. That's the number. The goal is to work together to create 1 million certified trainers in Africa over the next 10 years. And that's huge. It's not some fuzzy promise. It's a hard number, a real target. The idea is to create a system that can sustain itself, a whole ecosystem for developing skills.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a second. When you put all these pieces together, you start to see that they're not just random ideas. A bigger, more connected picture really starts to take shape.
What you're really looking at is a vision for a world that's, well, more secure, because you're choking off that drug terror money. A world that's more resilient, because we'd be ready for the next health emergency. A healthier world, because we're valuing all kinds of knowledge, old and new. And a world that's more balanced, by investing in Africa's future. See? Each proposal is just one piece of this giant, interconnected puzzle.
And that really brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question.
Look, we see big, ambitious ideas like this presented on the world stage all the time. The plans look great, the vision is powerful, but the one question that never goes away, the really tough one, is this. What does it actually take to go from a bunch of leaders agreeing on something to making it a reality for everyone?